You'd mentioned George Bush earlier, the Bush family, and when I heard about what's going on with the Bush family, I love the Bush family.
Yeah. It's a
And
lot to admire there. Yeah.
yeah, and in fact, when I was 18, when that election was happening, George W., if he wouldn't have won, I would not have joined the military. I wouldn't have
Wow.
become SEAL. I really liked him. And so let's dive into the Bush family.
Yeah, I mean, in the case with a lot of these people, there are things to admire and like, but you just wonder kind of what is the thought process, and you can't always control what family members do, right? But in the Bush family, it really began when George H.W. Bush, the father, was president of the United States. He had a brother, Prescott Bush, an older brother, who went into business in China. Didn't have a lot of background there, but he had all the right connections. His his brother, George H.W. Bush, had a history there. He'd been the U.S. representative to China in the 70s. Now he's president of the United States. So he started doing deals at the highest levels in China. And that continued but expanded when George W. Bush became president in 2001. Prescott Bush got a bunch of additional deals, and then Neil Bush, George W. Bush's younger brother, got in on the act and started securing deals as well. One of them, he got $1 million a year, Neil Bush did, from a Chinese computer company that was run by the son of the premier of China. And the problem is there's not really any evidence that Neil Bush had any background or knowledge in computers. And this is part of that strategy that Beijing has. They want to sort of cultivate these bonds. And at this time in the early 2000s, I mean, this is where I was too. The idea was, hey, more commerce with China, they'll become friendlier, they won't be as hostile, they won't be as aggressive. That was kind of the George W. Bush policy. That's what I thought made sense. That's what Democrats thought made sense. It obviously turned out to be completely wrong. But the problem is that the elements of the Bush family got very good deals in China, courtesy of the Chinese government. And we're in a position today where Neil Bush, George W. Bush's brother, is frankly, I mean, a shill for the government. There's no other way to say it. He set up the George Bush Center for the Study of U.S.-China Relations. It's named after his father, which I think is kind of disgraceful given what it's doing. That entity is partly funded by Chinese United Front groups, which are linked to the Chinese government. And you can find Neil Bush going on Chinese state television saying that, you know, the human rights situation in Hong Kong's not all that bad. And, you know, Americans misjudge it. He was very critical of some of the policies that the Trump administration had in place to kind of counter China. He does not have an unkind thing to say about Beijing. He's also on, you know, multiple corporate boards in China. Again, it's not really clear what he's bringing to that equation other than the fact that he's a Bush family member. And again, that's the kind of thing that creates political leverage. And when you have other Bush family members now coming into the fore, it's going to politically, it's going to present a dilemma. And Beijing's going to use that leverage that they have with Neil Bush, other members of the Bush family, to make sure that those candidates fall into line. And if those candidates don't fall into line, the family's going to pay a huge financial price. And that's unfortunately the way Beijing wants it and oftentimes gets it.
I mean, they can just yank the company right out, you know,
Yeah,
just like that. 'Cause
exactly.
they're communist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's the way they operate. And, you know, you think about it, it's human nature. I mean, I'm not doing deals in China and I don't have these, you know, multi-million-dollar deals that I'm doing anywhere. But, you know, we all get used to and familiar and comfortable with things on a personal level. And then when the threat is that it's going to be taken away, it's remarkable what some people are prepared to do to keep it. And they're preying on that human weakness. And I'm sure that, you know, again, I know you can't talk about it, but CIA, I'm sure when some things you're doing with the SEALs, I mean, you look at human weaknesses and try to use it to your advantage.
yep. we definitely do that.
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.